I've had other expected highs today. Dandridge 82 and 80 degrees in Waupunip, 81 in Tazewell, 80 Sneedville, 82 Morristown, 83 Rutledge, 82 Newport, 81 Kingston, 82 Madisonville, 82 Sevierville, and 79 in Gatlinburg. A couple of things one thing I've been talking about this morning and remind our listeners that our good friend and co-worker Larry Carter will not be hosting Bluegrass for breakfast for a short period of time. He was involved in a car accident on Wednesday, August 17th. He's doing well, recuperating in the hospital, and will be back as quickly as he can. Everyone at WCXZ asks that you and your family and friends keep Larry and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Good morning. It's 12 minutes after the hour. Chris McDonald joins us, and good morning, sir. How have you been doing?
I've been doing quite well, Tom. Good to see you again. And I had a friend of mine that was listening in earlier, and she heard Bobby Goldsboro, and I told her I thought you may have changed careers and started being a country music singer, but I guess I see you here by yourself, so I guess we're okay this morning. Okay.
Well, I'm glad she's listening. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate that. I now have a total of two. If I,
Oh, that's true.
If I count my son listening in on the internet, but we appreciate that. I don't particularly follow the format country. We are basically a country station, but Larry does bluegrass from 9 to 12, and I throw in some bumper music from time to time, but it could be anything. It could be
Sure.
anything from Steppenwolf to Step in the Creek. Yeah, and I like Bobby Goldsboro. Bobby Goldsboro is one of those singers that sort of crosses, and there's a word I don't like, but people use it all the time, and I sort of make fun of it. Genre.
Genre. That's what
people talk about genres. So I don't particularly follow genres. In fact, I don't follow any rules.
that's true. That's what makes Tom Amos Tom Amos.
Yeah. I come from Flat Lake, Kentucky. We make our own rules.
Yes, you do.
Anyway, so you've been doing well, and let me give you the microphone for a second or so, and tell us what you've been doing and what's on your mind this morning.
Well, still following this, race and campaign like everybody else is, and the state of affairs in our nation, Tom, is not a good one right now. And most people that are listening to us this morning, they're very aware of the fact that the 2016 race has been very volatile with several things that's going on with the campaigns. Donald Trump has had some bumps, certainly, and it showed in the polls. The latest polls have him down in several of the battleground states, and in some polls he's even down in double digits in some places. Other polls not so bad. But I want to delve into a few things that's going on, because the country is not just about the political race, even though that is what's on most people's minds. But there's been other things that's happened this week. Every time I come up here, we always seem to find a way back to this subject about the complete and utter failure and the distrust of the nation for our government, and the absolute inability, it seems, for Barack Obama and his minions, and I'll even, as an extension, say Hillary Clinton, to tell the truth to the American people about certain things. We found out yesterday that after weeks of denial, that our nation paid a $4 million ransom to Iran back in January to get these hostages back. And after Barack Obama getting on television in his smug way, slamming the podium down, saying, "Oh, this is just a media circus. The media is making this up. The right-wing media is making this up." And then come to find out yesterday, the State Department finally admitted that the payment of the $4 million was contingent on the hostages being released by Iran. And Tom, that's and most people with common sense hear that. That's ransom. It's ransom. I don't care how they shake the stick, try to define it. it is nothing but ransom. And when you start paying $4 million to terrorist sponsoring nations, and all that money, and the talk was, well, the money's going to go, into Iran's building up its infrastructure and helping the poor and helping the people, and that is the biggest can of crap you've ever heard in the history of the world. I mean, come on. I mean, Iran's the world's leading sponsor of terrorism, and we're supposed to believe that they're going to take $4 million and feed the poor with it, like the some of these UNICEF programs. Give me a break. So, and the distrust factor, this loss of faith in our institutions, Tom, is so disheartening. Most people that I've spoke with over the last few weeks, and we'll get to Donald Trump later in this discussion this morning, but I just want to talk about the nation in general. We're a very cynical nation right now. We're very distrustful. We're discouraged. Morale is at an all-time low. We have these police shootings, people targeting police still in some cities. Had a Georgia officer die last week, a few others scattered around the country. The situation in Milwaukee the other night erupted again over a situation, and then you have this feeling of uncertainty about the future. You have this uncertainty about where the nation is headed politically, where the nation is headed. Are we going to continue down this path of socialism that we've been on for 8 years? Are we going to see a change? Are we going to see a shift in direction? Are we going to start worrying about our budgets? Are we going to start worrying about paying our bills, balancing the federal deficit, taking care of the veterans, taking care of our own people instead of worrying about what everybody else said? I saw a sign the other day, and it was a pro-Trump sign certainly, but it said Donald Trump it cares more about America than he does Mexico. And I know that's a simple statement, but that's not a bad thing. The person showing it was trying to make it out to be a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing. We need to put America first again. This nation has needs that need to be addressed, spiritually, emotionally, financially, politically, and there's some healing that needs to be done because we are a divided nation. And, people are so sensitive and so politically correct that we're getting so much, we get so worried about what Donald Trump says sometimes, and we forget about what Hillary Clinton has done. And acts and deeds are far more weightier to me than words, because in the heat of a campaign, things get said. And I'm certainly sure if Donald Trump was sitting in front of us this morning, I mean, he admitted it as much last night in his speech in Charlotte, that he has said some things that have been inflammatory. He said some things that he probably, if he could go back over and do it again, probably wouldn't say, but that's politics. That is just part of the political genre, to use your word from earlier. That is the political genre, just like a country music song. And I'm sure after all this is over with, Tom, some country music artist is probably going to write a song about Donald Trump, and there will be a unique genre to himself. And you're laughing over there, but you know it's the truth. But seriously. But no, in all fairness, I mean, we get so caught up in what he's saying. And he's not a politician, he's a businessman. But we don't key in on the deeds of this administration for the last 8 years, what they've done, and what she will do if she's elected in November. And, she's lied just consistently about this email situation. I heard yesterday that some of the snippets coming out of the FBI interview that she had, I mean, she did not take responsibility during that interview. She blamed Colin Powell. She said, Colin Powell told me to set up that personal email server. And these are the things that have got American people, and I may not be speaking for everybody, but I will say it for me. It causes you to lose faith in our institution of government. And that's a sad state to be in when you can't trust a word that is coming out of your government's mouth. And I think we're at that state right now. And I tell you, you can feel it. You can feel it across the nation. And I think that's where you're seeing these polls go back and forth. And I think the nation's in a great conflict right now.
Chris McDonald joins us, and I got interrupted by a phone call, so I lost part of what you were saying there. But you can't fault Donald Trump for wanting America to be first. That, regardless of who the presidential candidate is, they should want America to be first. But none of us, most of us, do not want to see a League of Nations or United Nations or and expanded NATO to the fact that we're just one of many. So America should be first on the minds of everyone. If you'll talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely, and I mean, look, his first campaign ad is coming out today, Tom. And one of the main things that I saw in that ad this morning that really struck me was the contrast that he made between Hillary's America and what Donald Trump's America will be. Hillary's America, we will have open borders, we will have no immigration plan, we'll have complete amnesty. Donald Trump is calling for secure borders. He's calling for a wall to be built to keep illegals out. We've gotten on this immigration topic so many times, and people are probably getting tired of listening to it. But it's really more of a national security issue. It's not just that we're wanting to keep immigrants from other countries out. We're wanting to keep the country safe. That's what Donald Trump is promoting. Hillary don't seem to care about that. I saw something the other day, and I think you'll find this amusing. There was a picture of a man with his family in a car, and in the ad, the man was going to Mexico, and he said, kids, we're headed to Mexico. When we get there, we're going to cross over illegally. We're not going to pay any taxes. We're going to get free health care. We're going to not work, and then we're going to get into the country. We're going to criticize the country for which we're going into, and then call them racist if they ask us to go back out. And that's about the state of what's going on right now. Hillary does not want any kind of fiscal responsibility. Her plan is nothing but an old scheme of the old Democratic playbook: tax the rich, put all these programs on the books, nobody has any responsibility, we'll pay for everything, and you walk free. Donald Trump is calling for a tax cut on businesses. He's trying to bring the debt down, trying to make sense of this federal deficit is very, it takes people with understanding to understand the depth of the danger that if we don't get our debt in check, Tom, it's going to become a national security issue. And again, it goes back to who is going to put the nation first. And in her world, America shouldn't be first, and I'll tell you why she feels that way. It goes back to her predecessor, who we've had for 8 years, who does not feel that way. He's never put America first. All he has done is apologize for America from day one and put us on the back burner and told the nations of the world that America doesn't need to lead anymore. And what you have is where we have reached this point 8 years later where we're not the leader of the world. And we need somebody that can be strong, and albeit no matter how imperfect he may be, I do believe Donald Trump has that heart. Now, whether he's going to run this great grandiose campaign that everybody's expecting, that's got all the Republican playbook in it and all the Republican gala to it, Tom, we've had 2 playbooks like that for the last 2 election cycles, and we saw where it got us. So I'm willing to give him a lot of leeway. I'm willing to give him a lot of deference on things that he says. And I'm like you, and I, we talked about it before we came on the air. We both scratch our heads at some of the things he says. We do. And we just look into the TV and say, why did you just say that? And there's no answer why he just said that. We don't know what is going through the mind of Donald J. Trump sometimes. But then you back up and you say, well, what's the alternative? And again, I go back to what I said. People are more upset about what he says instead about what she's done, and that is something that's very bad. And somebody said this the other day, and I'll give it back to you for a minute. It's not that Hillary Clinton is crooked, because we all know that. It's not that she's corrupt. We know that. When you have nations paying billions of dollars, millions of dollars into a foundation for a pay-for-play scheme to get favors from the Clinton State Department, which there's no denying that. That is proven fact. And then people just shrug that off and say, well, that don't make her unqualified for office. The bigger problem is her followers. People that don't understand the depth of that corruption will vote for her no matter what she does. That is more scary to me about the state of our country than Hillary Clinton herself, because she is a known product, and that is the complete queen of corruption, hands down.
There's an old Latin term that students learn in law school. It's called re ipsa loquitur, and that means the thing speaks for itself. And Hillary Clinton's record speaks for itself, although half the voters in this country would vote for it regardless of what that, what